Kia ora koutou. Ngā mihi nui ki a koutou. Ko Nina Kuri toko ingoa, no Tamaki Makaurau ahau, ko Maunga Whau te Maunga, ko Watemata te Moana. He Roia ahau, he Kaitaka Wainga ahau. Ko Tim toku tāne, tokoro oku tamariki, ko Ralph, roa ko Nadia. Good morning. I thought I'd begin with an... Is the sound okay? I thought I'd begin with an introduction for those of you who don't know me as well as others. What I've just said is greetings to you all. My name is Nina Kuri. I'm from here in Auckland. Mount Eden is my mountain, the Waitemata is my ocean. I'm a lawyer and a mediator. I specialise in helping people and organisations who find themselves in serious conflict find a way to resolve that without having to go to court. I'm married to Tim, and I'm lucky enough to have Tim's parents here today. And I have two children, Nadia and the very shy Ralph. It's my great honour to lead this service today and to say on behalf of the congregation, tēnā koutou te whānau o Auckland Unitarian. Tēnā koutou ngā manuhiri. Nau mai, haere mai ki tēnei whare karakia o te atua. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Kia ora, hui hui mai tātou. We welcome you into this space made sacred by Auckland Unitarians for 118 years. My opening words today are from Chip Rausch from the UUA website. We are about to enter sacred time. We are about to make this time and this place sacred by our presence and our intention. As we turn off or silence our phones, let us also turn down the volume on our fears. Remove our masks, maybe loosen the armour around our hearts. Don't take my word for it. Do it as slowly as you need to. If you take a little risk with these good people, you may find that they have the same human needs as you do. Breathe. Let go of the expectations placed on you by others and those you've been taught to place on yourself. Drop the guilt and the shame, not to shirk accountability, but an honest expectation of the possibility of forgiveness. Let go of the thing you said the other day. Let go of the thing you dread next week. Be here in this moment. Breathe here. Kia ora hui hui mai tātou. Come, let us worship together. And afterwards, let us join together for morning tea. It is our sacrament of hospitality. It won't be the same without you. Every endeavour begins with a first step and encounters darkness and difficulty along the way. We light this chalice in anticipation of knowing the dawning of the light, the beginnings of hope, and the renewal of life. Let us all say together, love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is the sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. Thus do we covenant with each other and with our God. Let us now stand, if able, to sing our opening hymn. I chose today's story for the kids, Time for All Ages, because that's how I have felt about 2020. There have been times this year when I felt like the ground under my feet wasn't as solid as I'd thought. There have been seismic shifts in what I thought I could take for granted. Going to the supermarket, to a sports game, to a concert, travelling overseas. Nadia and I had planned a visit to family in Sweden for the first time. Hugging my friends, shaking hands at work. Democracy. I received my annual alumni newsletter from NYU Law School recently. And one of the articles was a research report from the constitutional law professors there, Richard Pilders and Samuel Issacharoff. It started by saying that 20 years ago, their research into democratic theory concentrated on what led democracy to fail or flourish in countries that had recently emerged from autocratic rule or conflict, so in the 1990s and early 2000s. They formulated their research question about the health and stability of a country's democracy as whether you could have confidence that one fairly contested election would be followed by another. The article says that 20 years ago, that question seemed less relevant in discussions of government in the US and in other countries with long-established democracies. Now, however, they say it's different. They have to ask this question again in the US. The Brennan Center for Justice, a non-partisan law and policy institute with links to NYU Law and it focuses on research and advocacy into elections and voting rights, had as its mission statement in early 2019 that at this critical moment it was dedicated to protecting the rule of law and the values of constitutional democracy. By the end of 2019, that language had been updated, and it read, "Today we are in a great fight for the future of constitutional democracy in the United States." Professor Pilders says in the article I was reading that now there's a much greater sense of politics as existential, that everything is at stake, that losing an election is catastrophic and irreversible, rather than part of the routine alternation of power that happens in a pluralistic democratic society. The NYU article was written earlier this year in the context of the Black Lives Matter protests and in the pandemic. Since then, we've had the 2 elections in New Zealand and in the States. I don't know about you, but to me, the stakes in those elections really did feel high, higher than I remember. And I feel like I've been left reeling and gasping for breath now that they're over. How does this all relate to us here at the Unitarian Church in Auckland? I'm getting there. You may remember that earlier this year, Clay asked a couple of us, John, Derek and me, to think together about the future of this Unitarian Church in Auckland. I'm afraid it's been rather a slow burn project. Other things have gotten in the way this year. And I also have a concern about what right I have as a relatively new member of this congregation to presume to address these issues. But it's got me thinking about what this church is and reading about our history. What is this place we have here? Who are we? That little question. I've been thinking about a story, a parable really, I read in a Mitch Albom book about a little girl whose father, a soldier, was being moved to a distant post. She was sitting at the airport amongst her family's meagre possessions, and she was sleepy and leaning back against the packs and duffel bags. A lady came by and patted her on the head. "Poor child," she said, "you haven't got a home. The child looked up in surprise. But we do have a home. We just don't have a house to put it in. You can see the parallels with Quakey Cat, right? A home is a place where you belong, where you fit, or to quote Robert Frost, the place where when you have to go there, they have to take you in. It's much more than a physical building, although the physical building can be a big part of it. It's something you can rely on, that's solid beneath your feet when everything else is shifting. So what is it that makes this place home for you? Or if it's not yet home, what might make it home? Is it the Unitarian Universalist tradition that we're part of? Being part of a faith tradition is one of the things that we can hold on to in our lives. It can be something larger than us, something that will survive us and that connects us, including to those who have gone before and those who will come after. A related idea is whakapapa, genealogy, our lines of connection. Is it our history? I've been reading and enjoying John Macdonald's History of the Unitarian Church in New Zealand. Here are a couple of vignettes that have stood out for me so far. In April 1909, the Evening Post reported on the opening of a new church building in Wellington, and it said, Dr. Tudor Jones at the morning service traced the rise and progress of the Unitarian Church in Wellington. Remember, this is 1909. It had started from small beginnings until today it comprised over 200 members. The only authority before which its supporters bowed was not that of any priest or tradition, but the authority of conscience. It was through grasping the principles of freedom and truth and goodness in their direct bearing on their lives and the light of the world that they could solve, so far as it could be solved at all, the riddle of existence. Another one, in August 1913, so still over 100 years ago, the Christchurch Star reported a Unitarian church sermon in Christchurch. On Sunday night at the Alexandra Hall, the Reverend Chappie delivered a lecture on Unitarian aims and ideals. The movement aimed at establishing a congregation of tolerant and enlightened thinkers. Another aim was to teach kinder and more modern thoughts of God. A fellowship was found that was not based on a common creed, but upon common aims, common ideals, and a common spirit. Each member was allowed to think freely his own thoughts. The mind of each and all was thus kept open to fresh and new ideas, recognizing there could be no finality or fixity in an evolving universe. So there's a history here that we are part of. Is home the people, us, our community here? We all have very different lives outside of here, right? We're divided by our backgrounds, our day jobs, age, gender, ethnicity, geography, especially our online community. Like all communities, we have tendrils and roots sometimes pulling us in different directions. But I suggest we also have a core tangle of togetherness that somehow, in its messiness and ambiguity, creates a shared identity. And we've got our 7 principles up on the wall, right? I have to confess, sometimes I look at them and think, they're so obvious. How could anyone disagree with them? They're pretty inoffensive, maybe even so broad as to be meaningless. But I wonder if that's right. If this year has taught me anything, it's not to take this stuff for granted. The inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, and so on. See what I mean? this year has taught me to think carefully about what I can rely on, and also what I will choose to rely on. Abraham Lincoln said, "Make sure your feet are in the right place, then stand firm." I'd like to see us articulate where we put our feet and then stand firm. We don't have a big glossy church with a congregation of thousands and a live band. Sometimes it feels pretty modest. There aren't always that many of us here on a Sunday morning, right? But it's very special. And it's strong. And despite Clay's encouragement last week to be humble, I think we can be very proud of it. I'd like to see us feel confident that we're putting our feet in the right place and then radiate a quiet, strong, calm, golden, warm, kind, generous pride that can stand firm and reach out and generously welcome anyone else who might find a spiritual home here. I'm not saying we have all the answers. Look at principle number 4, after all. And don't worry, I'm not proposing we get evangelical. But let's not underestimate what we have here either. There are lots of ways one might describe it, and it's likely to be actually different for each of us. And that's okay. That's good. And it might just be a tentative, emerging, fragile thing, especially for those who are new here or who are perhaps joining on Zoom from outside Auckland. So I'm going to ask you to have a go at articulating your view of it in conversation time. The best way I could think to phrase the question was, what makes this church feel like home for you? Or it could also be, what might make this church feel like home for you? And I'm deliberately putting home in speech marks, right? What I mean by home is something solid that you can rely on when everything else is shifting. So if you're willing, when it comes to it at the end of the service and I need to duck out to do the Zoom service, Tunisia, maybe you could help people grab a pencil and a piece of paper and jot down just a couple of ideas of what it could be. And if you're willing, put them in the green steel box afterwards. For now, I'd like to end with a poem, and you'll see where I got my title for today. Please stand if you're able for our closing hymn. And you all know the words, let's extinguish the chalice together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you everyone for allowing me to lead today. I'm going to close with Clay's words from a fortnight ago. He used them in opening, I'd like to use them in closing. Take a deep breath. Feel the force of gravity pulling us all towards the same centre, whatever helps you feel more rooted and less alone. And once you feel that rootedness and connection, hear this. You are loved beyond belief. You are enough. You are precious. Your work and your life matter. And you are not alone. You are part of a we, a great cloud of witnesses, living and dead, who have insisted that this beautiful, broken world of ours is a blessing worthy of both deep gratitude and fierce protection. Our ancestors and our descendants are beckoning us, compelling us onwards towards greater connection, greater compassion, greater commitment to one another and to the earth. Together we are resilient and resourceful enough to say yes to that call, to make it our life's work in 1,000 different ways, knowing that we can do no other than bind ourselves more tightly together and throw ourselves into the holy work of showing up again and again, to be part of building that world of which we dream, but which we have not yet seen.